Hi YouTube, welcome to the Pagan Perspective. This is Wednesday, subs week, and this is Megan. Hi YouTube, welcome to the Pagan Perspective. This week we are celebrating the anniversary of the Pagan Perspective, and so the subs are doing the same topic that the regular host did last week. I'm not sure if the question's been read, so here it goes. I have an odd question. If you were to do a ceremony, full moon or other type, having the world of Star Wars as the theme, what would you use or do? For me, one thing I would do is use one of those lightsaber toys in place of my wand or athame. If you were to perform a ritual, some sort of theme, what would the theme be and why? And who would you use as the god and goddess? Okay, all right, that's fun. So I would have to say, I mean, it's hard because I think some people have just seen the movies and there's a whole other world of Star Wars out there. And I think that it would be really interesting to kind of add in some other elements for the god and goddess. I think it would be really interesting to play around with some of the familial themes and do like Jenna and Jason, for those of you who know. But for those of you who have just seen the movies, I think you can always do Han and Leia. You could always do Luke and Leia, but that's a little even more obvious. The other thing that you could do is, though a lot of Star Wars fans have determined that they are no longer considering the first three movies that were put out part of the Star Wars canon, you could put Amidala down and then maybe Obi-Wan, or you could put even Anakin if you really wanted to. Have, pre-Vader in there, or even Vader if you really wanted to. So there's a lot of different options for that. The other thing that would be interesting is Anakin's mother. You could put Anakin's mother as the mother figure. Really sweet, internally loving, all of that. That would be a really interesting part of it. I think as far as the theme goes, I do a lot of theme rituals. However, I don't do them based on popular media and things like that. I have a different take on what a themed ritual is. In the down bar below, I am going to put a link to a video that I did last year for Celebrate Samhain, which is an event in my area. And they do a Samhain ritual every year, and every year there's a theme to it. It's always a themed ritual. So I thought this question was really interesting. So last year, the ritual was our roots, our beginning, our founding mothers, and where we come from, the ancestor spirits. And it wasn't just ancestor spirits as far as individuals, but ancestor spirits as far as the locations on the globe, the different continents. So the more global ancestors. And so we had 4 different women representing different areas. So we had a woman representing Africa, a woman representing Northern Europe, a woman representing the Eastern countries, like Japan and China. So we had all sorts of different things going in, and then obviously one representing North America as well. So we tried to cover a lot. We didn't have anybody for Australia. But I think that what's important about this is that by having a theme, it allows you to sort of bring all sorts of different elements in within that theme. It's like being given a box to work with. And though we don't want to always work in boxes, it is nice to be given some sort of boundaries. It's like when you just say to somebody, okay, anything. Well, that can be overwhelming. That's a little hard. But when you say, okay, this is the theme, then your mind can kind of work and stretch those boundaries and work within those boundaries a little bit better. So I really like the idea of themes. We're doing another themed ritual for Celebrate Samhain this year that I'm going to be a part of. I'm so excited. I can't tell anybody because it's a surprise, but my good friend Beth is running the ritual, so I'm helping her. She's a high priestess. And I actually wanted to make a mention on here. I filmed an interview with Beth about working with dragons. So the last subs week, we talked about dragons, and I felt like we were a little lacking. I think we did the best we could, but neither one of us were really huge dragon workers in a major sense. And there was also only 2 of us. I mean, I think that was the other problem. There wasn't that many videos on it to really get a bigger perspective. So I went out and I thought, why not go and find a high priestess who works with dragons all the time and interview her for you guys. So I will post the link to that in the down bar below so that you can check out that video and you can check out that interview. A little bit extra on working with dragons. So the last part of this question is, what if I were to do a theme, what would I pick? And I have to say, if I were to do a ritual that was themed, it would really depend on what ritual it was, because I like to do my themes around the time of year. So when I do, a Samhain ritual, a personal Samhain ritual, I do it all up. I mean, I actually don't go super Day of the Dead or even, secular Halloween-y. I go very Thanksgiving with it. I know that sounds interesting, but my Samhain dinner is for family, but it's also for friends. And so it's people who aren't also practicing, but they love coming for my Samhain dinner because I cook a lot of food. And for those of you that don't know, the bigger the feast on Samhain dinner, the more prosperity you'll have for the year to come. And so Samhain's coming up, and I'm already planning my menu. I usually make anywhere from 13 to 14 items. And for those of you who watch my personal channel, you know I'm vegan. And so all of them are vegan, and I've never had one complaint about people missing any meat or any dairy because it is rich. I mean, we're talking, brown sugar crusted sweet potatoes and fried sage mashed potatoes and apple cranberry butternut squash bake with cinnamon and nutmeg. Yeah, good stuff. I also make a maple syrup cinnamon butter. That is just to die for. So, and then honey cornbread, of course. I do use honey, if anybody is. I'm a herbalist, so I do use honey. But that is kind of what I plan on doing. I have everything. Everyone comes. So what I do, and this is what I'm planning. So this is sort of my planning stages for my big Samhain feast, which is the biggest ritual I run for other people every year. And I'm already planning it out. Every year I do a craft. So that's the first step. One year I did wreaths. So I sent them on a nature walk around my house, and they had to collect different things that spoke to them, and then they would put it on the wreath that we put on the altar. And what we would do is take the pictures or any memorabilia that we have for the beloved dead, and we put that up on the altar as well. And they came out beautiful. Everyone still has them, and they're really nice. And then another year, we've done other types of crafts, and it has always been really, really fun. We've done little boxes, and it's been an amazing time. We've had so much fun doing it. My pumpkin ginger soup with shiitake mushrooms on top is always a hit. And I think that when you have a theme, so mine would be a fall theme to a ritual, it can really help. So the way I extend that, because for me the ritual isn't just about when I'm in the circle and casting the ritual itself. The ritual is the entire day. The ritual is when I'm preparing the food. That's incredibly important to me. I'm a hereditary witch, so every single thing that I do is part of the magic. So when I'm cooking, that's essential. I'm putting intention into that food for the coming year, for everyone to have prosperity. And it's very important. So that is all part of the ritual for me, including the crafts beforehand and everything. We also have a little time where we sit around and we talk about the beloved dead and we give memories. And it's very sacred and very special. And I choose, for the god and goddess representations, I choose a harvest theme. So it's interesting, when I do the representations on the altar, I actually make little corn husk dolls for the god and the goddess. So it's not a particular, because for me the god and the goddess are separate. The deities aren't aspects of the god and goddess. They are separate. So it's a little different for me. I know other traditions have different ideas, but for me, the god and the goddess are separate. And so if I were to bring in any other deities, then I would put their representations on the altar as well. But I typically don't for Samhain because it's the most sacred holiday for me. And so just the two big ones are the ones that I work with. And I make little corn husk dolls, and I put them up on the altar to represent the god and the goddess. So that's what I do, and I think it's a lot of fun. And I love having a theme. I think that it helps really kind of give your brain something to grasp onto and work with. So check out the video on working with dragons, the interview with Beth. I also am posting the video from last year's Celebrate Samhain, the ancestor ritual that we did. And I filmed the entire ritual. So you'll get to see it beginning to end. And that's on my channel. I'll put the link. And you guys will see me next week as well, because the subs are doing 2 weeks. And I'm in my new place. I have no good lighting, and I'm sorry about that. And I still have boxes everywhere. But I will hopefully figure out some lighting stuff for next week. We'll see what happens. But I am in the new place. So, as always, guys, have a wonderful day, and blessed be.